All right. First of all, if you give another round of applause, that was beautiful. That was amazing. I love that. But right now, I'm gonna call up a couple cast members real quick. I want Mason. I want you up here. Where's Ali? Here you are. Aiden, you come up, and then Kim. Kim. Right here. Come on. All right. First question. This is my first question. I know a lot of y'all are in theater, but is that what theater is actually like? Like that looked like a blast.
Yeah, the apple bottom jeans was actually like a thing that we would do before every show. So like that was like a cool little reference. Like usually we did it with Miss Cresswell. I don't know if she's still here. I don't think she is, but we would basically she'd play that song over the like stereos, and we would all like sing and dance. It was just to like get us hyped for the show. And honestly, yeah, like you do like build a connection with everyone in theater. Like like some of my closest friends are like friends from theater. And yeah, I think it really is accurate to how Caffrey depicted it in the show, in the play, in the play.
That's what's up. I know I'm like it's good that you got your mic because I was gonna ask you your question next, so I'm sorry you back to back. So the costumes, I know you were given like complete direction over like what you wore and what you like presented your character as. And can you tell us a little about those choices?
So for Carrie, like when I read the script, I was like, oh, like I kind of picture her as like not like a tomboy, but like almost like a hippie. Like she's really chill. Like she knows like obviously like a lot about people. Like she's really empathetic, and so like I wanted just to have like a style choice that like I like my mom helped me with stuff because she was like a hippie back in her day, and I was like, what do you think like I would be best to wear for like somebody who's like chill but like still like wants to express themselves and stuff like that. So like definitely like jewelry, like interesting pieces. Like I tried to wear like a lot of different shirts that like were really like embellished with like gems or like had like open backs and stuff. Just something like really interesting because I thought it helped like build her character.
Yeah, you definitely see that coming across for sure. And then question for everybody real quick. Do you think you would like your character? So the character you played, would you like them in real life?
Yeah, I think I'd probably like my character. He seems to be a very supportive guy, I like to think. He got ignored a few times throughout the story, which that does definitely suck. But the fact that he got ignored and still provided his friendship and his best advice, even though he may have not been actually heard some of the times, I think that is a very good quality to have in a character.
Probably. I think she's a really nice person. I don't know if I'd be like super close with her, but yeah, I think she'd be somebody that I'd go to like with my problems.
No. When I was pitching this to people, I would say, okay, so it's like, you know, it's not exactly me, but I like to think of it as me if I was like 14 to 17% more of an asshole. So yeah, I don't know. I think he has redeeming moments towards the end, but yeah, he's a little asshole. What I think is cool is that he is very lucky because he has a lot of very supportive people that like forgive him a lot because he is not cool. First, you have like the therapist. That's like his first example of like kind of deflecting, taking accountability for things. And then he has his best friend who he ignores the whole movie and then still is able to give that super good in-depth advice. Then he has Makai's character, Neil, who he's super mean to and then forgives him. And then he has Carrie, who finally, like, you know, even though he kind of, you know, misuses her trust, allows him to finally take accountability, which is kind of marks that turning point for him. But yeah, no, I'll maybe after the events of the movie I would like him, but not for 90% of it.
That's good. Another big thing in the movie was the cinematography. Me personally, when I watched it, I was in love with the movie, not only because of the characters, but also because like I don't know, it was just such a beautiful movie to me. And so I wanna ask Kim real quick, what went into that? What kind of creative direction did you put into the cinematography?
Well, I remember there was a lot of discussion between me and Aiden about he wanted the whole thing to be handheld and more like, you know, that fast-paced kind of stuff, especially the theater scenes. And if you know and work with cameras, handheld is not always the best because there's a lot of error, right? And especially with theater scenes where he wanted me to do all oneers. And again, the time frame that we had, 66 pages in what, 3 quarters? 3 days, right? Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that. But, you know, I wanted to get, the therapy scenes for one, you can tell that those are the only ones that are still, right? I don't know if you noticed that, but those are the only shots in the entire movie that are still, well, except like one or two. But yeah, so that was a choice to make it seem far more different because the colors are so different, the environment is far different. So I feel like that really helped with creating that dissonance. So yeah, and then color was a big thing, a big part of it too, which was mostly on you and actors and choosing the color and stuff. And set design, thank you Peter Weiss for the set design, like the therapy team. Yeah, so that's that.
What would you say was the hardest shot?
Yeah, some moms will kill me, but there were what, three shots that I was riding on top of the car, the hood of the car. It wasn't moving fast. It wasn't going fast. No, it's okay. I help on site. We're okay. Sorry, Mr. Haynes, I almost broke your camera a few times. Got it almost wet. It didn't get wet though. There you go. And then I remember I was sitting on top of a ladder to get the overhead shot over the bed. That was tough. Honestly, that was probably the least hardest because I was just chilling. I was just holding the camera. The therapy scene, the monologues were definitely really hard because a lot of the ones that because again, he wanted me to do all handheld for really long monologues. Yours was 7 minutes. To be fair, he did do some of that too. So half of the shots, some of the shots are minutes, not half, like 3. Yeah, holding the camera steady like this and trying to pull focus as well sucks. Oh, the hardest one was the walking scene with you two before the party scene because I was walking backwards down a sloped hill with a curve that had no it was like rubble, and I fell off like 3 times. And it was a great one to edit too because of the wind. Yeah. The party oneer. Oh yeah, that was kind of hard, but honestly it came together really well.
First, can you explain what a oneer is? Because I don't think a lot of people know what that is.
So a oneer is a one shot. So it is one continuous shot without any cuts or different camera angles or anything. So that one, we had the idea the night before to do something like that to transition us into that whole thing. Eden kind of hit flow state and came up with it really fast. On the spot obviously we wanted to start the party, but we wanted a ton of people to look like they were in there, but obviously it's a small room. And so we wanted to gather everyone in there slowly. So we start off with Izzy diving into the pool, which was a great dive, by the way. And then we have Jackson talking, and that was a fun one too, because again, there's a pool right there, and I'm again walking backwards, taking a corner. So in order to not drop the camera in the water, he was spotting me before. Yeah, he was spotting me around the corner, and then so you see Jackson being like, "Oh, hey, Sam," and then that's the moment where I kind of stop, and then Aiden runs to his spot, and then at that point, I turn to him, and Jackson is spotting me down the stairs and throughout the house, and then we had, Marvin and all of them in the ping pong room, and then it was a lot, but it came together really nice, and it was rather fast too. So good job on you for directing that.
Let's see. Oh, theme. So I know I almost touched on it too much in the beginning. I know you had more stuff to say, so I'm gonna let you say that right now.
Oh, just all the themes?
No, okay. Actually, no, I got you. Specifically, we can focus on romanticization.
Yeah. Okay. So when I started this, one of the biggest themes for me was the romanticization of people. So that's kind of where I was going with the Aurora Borealis shots throughout. There's not really any scenes in the movie while Sam and Rose are together that they seem they seem to be in love. So I wanted that first shot to be the only time you see Rose the way Sam sees Rose, which is in this very colorful, theatrical, sort of fantasy light. Obviously, as it goes on, you see that relationship is pretty toxic and unhealthy, and his way of coping is by kind of having little outbursts and then not expanding on them, and then going and writing a scene in a play that fits it, and then having his friends act out that play. And the one of the biggest things about that for me was like, um, it focuses a lot on like Sam's romanticization, but something we talked about early on was like they kind of both do that for each other in the relationship. Like, you know, for the parts of it that feel or meant to feel like a rom-com, like, you know, he views himself obviously, as Allie's character says, like as this like troubled artist, like, oh, you know, like a very literally me, like nice guy, like why don't any girls like, why don't girls like me, and he wants to make this great art. And then she kind of views herself as that, you know, classic rom-com girl who like obviously is very academically driven, he's gonna have a great career, pretty wealthy, gonna have, you know, a successful future, and wants to be loved by that kind of guy. So they kind of start the relationship holding each other in these fantasy lights. So that's why it's kind of doomed from the start. So the idea of like romanticizing someone to the point of not communicating your feelings and projecting your like fantasy of that elsewhere is kind of where Sam needs to be brought back down to reality. And I think the biggest subversion of like the rom-com and the romanticization is like they break up halfway in the movie, at the halfway point. So like half the movie is after that relationship is over, which I think is like the biggest subversion, because like, you know, I know Max was telling me yesterday like he thought they were gonna get back together at the end, which is like the ultimate flipping that on its head.
That was good. What's something you learned another cast member? We'll start with you, and then we'll go to everybody.
Oh, a lot. Well, I mean, not cast member, but Kim. Like, holy cow! When I started this, I was like, all right, yeah, you know, I'll shoot on my phone, and like, yeah. And then I realized that's not gonna work. So I reached out to Kim, and my God, I learned so much just watching Kim work and how professional she was, and like so much of the reason this movie looks so good and we were able to expedite the production of it is solely because of Kim. I was just there to watch that happen and give the occasional note that she was already ahead of me on. But yeah, I learned so much watching her. And also, like, again, I already said, being surrounded by so many talented people, coming in and being so game to do so many things. There was a lot of improv in the movie. A lot of those lines are like improvised, and everyone was so game for that. So really just respect that out of everyone. I was really lucky.
There wasn't one specific thing that I learned from a castmate, but like I did meet a lot of people through this. Like I didn't know Libby before, I didn't know Aiden Maldonado, I didn't know Kim really, so it was just like, for me, like meeting a bunch of new people who were all like super talented and super driven was like definitely like eye-opening to me, and I was like, wow, like this is awesome, like I'm excited to be in it.
Yeah, kind of to stem off what she just said. I was in scenes with a lot of extras very frequently, and just seeing their adaptability to just randomly show up on the dot, just like a random message, hey, you want to pull up? And them just, you know, going along with what Aiden says, you know, if they need to just be quiet and leave, they'll be quiet and leave. If they need to change how they're doing something, they'll just change it. They were very adaptable, and I really respect everyone who just showed up and was so easily understanding and listening of this filming process, even though if they've had no prior knowledge.
I am not an actor, so I didn't understand any of that. But I will say, I did learn a lot from all of you guys, because realizing how much work you guys put in learning your lines, especially really fast and everything like that, and you know, getting into character like that. Like, it was really cool to see you guys hop into character, come up with, you know, like especially with your design, your outfits and stuff, and Libby's outfits. Yeah, I mean, it was just really cool to see how dedicated you guys were to that, and how professional you guys were, and how easy it was to work with you guys. I had a lot of fun, and Aiden, I learned a lot from you as well. I learned, like, you also are extremely dedicated to this, and it was a pleasure working with you the whole time, because you were just go, like, you did not stop, and I think that's a really admirable thing. But yeah, I learned a lot from all you guys in general.
All right, Mason. So there was a scene in the movie, right? You seen the movie when they're at the party, and Dylan was asked if he has an STD, and he name dropped the actual name of the movie, and so that was like, I feel like that was an odd place to put it. So can you explain the thought behind that?
Okay, so the title, I think I got it. there's kind of two parts to where the title really comes from, and one of them will explain why that line was added. But I think throughout the film, this is more of a coming of age type of film, where a lot of the characters are learning from their experiences and their relationships and their friendships. And so frequently, over and over and over again, they're like, I think. They all think they know what's best for them and what's best for everyone. They think they know that maybe they're in the right or that someone else is in the wrong. Almost immediately in the first theater scene, we see Sam, or Aiden's character, says, I think I'll be playing the main character. And then very shortly after, Aiden's character, he says, I think I should play the main character. So basically, I mean, that's the first part, I think, and then they think they got it. They think that they know exactly what's going on. And just even the therapist keeps on saying he thinks he knows what's best for, which usually is a therapist's job, to be fair. But they think that they know that that's what's going to actually happen. So to see all of these kids think that they're on top, and it's why the coming of age towards the very end, they do start to accept that they can be wrong, and they're going to have different views and thoughts on everything. And even the STD line itself from Dylan Bauer right over there, it really shows that, like, these kids are saying whatever the heck they want and not really thinking about the consequences, maybe. And then the second part of where the title comes from, it's a little bit the more meta side. I remember when Aiden first sat me down and he had me go through the whole entire script, which took way too long. But I remember seeing, like, in the top, it was on a Google document, and I remember seeing in the top left, it says, I think I got it. And that was not the intention to be the title at all. That's just what he named the Google document because he thought that he came up with a good idea. So I was like, you know what? I think that checks out a lot with the actual plot. He thinks he's got this great idea for a play, and he ends up changing it. So, I told him, like, hey, I think that is what the title should be.
That's crazy.
I'm sorry, on Dylan's line too, I just want to give him credit for that. So we do this party scene, and Jackson's monologue was scripted, Emily's scripted, and the scene with Angelica and Kimberly and Izzy was scripted. Everything else in that scene is improvised. So credit to all of them for coming up with that. And there was one part I was like, okay, Kayla, we're gonna get some B-roll, just like walking around. Basically, guys might come up and talk to you, just keep talking to me, like just so we have stuff to film. And I make my rounds, I talk to Angelica, and then I go over to Dylan and Jackson, who are sitting on the thing, and they're just trying to slip in the title to as many lines as they can, and I start laughing. And then they say that, and I believe it was your idea, right? You and Jackson? So I was like, I thought it was really fun. I was like, let's just film it. Like, let's just have it there for fun. Not thinking I would use it. And then I went home that night and I thought about it more. And I thought about that, and I thought about the scene with the Gentrys when they're like, oh, why is he singing this song? I think this kid just wants to put all the stuff he likes in this one thing. And I was like, you know what? It's not that serious. Like, I like the idea that, like, you have this main character who clearly, like, he wants to write all these people in his life. He wants to have all these climactic moments in his, like, coming-of-age story. And then the title drop of the movie about him is Dylan Bauer saying he thinks he had an STD. I just, thought that was funny.
No, that's good. It definitely got a laugh out of me. I will say that. I know when Aiden first told me about this play, he was telling me that he was like telling people about the script, and I remember he said that what got him even more excited about it was when he gave it to Allie. He said she was ultra excited about it, and so I'm curious what was the drawing fact like where'd that come from?
Well, when Caffrey first gave me the script, I was like, I don't think I can do it. I don't want to do it. But he was like, read it, like, tell me what you think, like, at least do that. And I was like, okay. And so I read it once, and I was like, oh, there were some things I didn't understand, so I read it again. And then I was like, oh, I want to read it again. So I read it again. And so I ended up reading it like 3 to 4 times. I even read it with my mom once, because I was like, look at this script. And after reading it, I was like, I kind of do want to be in this. Like, this sounds super fun and super cool. And, like, the character that he wants me to play is super cool. So I was like, yeah, I'll be in it. And that was sort of just, like, the script, like, itself, like, I had messaged him, like, I was messaging him while I was reading it. And I was like, oh, this part's good. Oh, my God, I didn't expect that part. And I think, like, reading something that was able to like draw me in was like something that I was like, okay, I kind of have to be in this now. But yeah, just reading it and then like all of his like references to movies, like I was like, oh, I picked up on that. And like I just feel like all the characters' dialogue, you can almost hear what they're thinking. And I think that was like really interesting. I haven't really seen a movie do that in a while, or like especially like a short film kind of movie do that in a while. So I was like, wow, this is awesome. And yeah, that's why I was so interested in it. And that's why I joined up.
And like follow-up question, I know your character that you played also had like a similar experience with Sam's play. So did that come? Do you think that came after or before? I'm not too sure how the process worked there, but was it like a coincidence?
For Carrie, I think that she just like in the movie, like they've known each other since they were like 9. I think she's just really supportive of him. She's obviously a good actress. I don't know if that's what she wants to do in life, but like I think him making her that role was definitely because he like trusts her with it, and I think she was just like down to like jump into it instead of it being like more of like a, oh, I'm really interested in what you have going on, like I'm really interested in this play. It was more of like, I'm interested in being there for you and acting in your play, rather than like me, who I was like, oh, this sounds so cool. But, yeah.
I know every time, because I remember I was talking to Aiden about this like yesterday, and he was saying that every time he had like someone peer review the play, the movie, sorry. Every time he had someone peer review the movie, every single person had a different interpretation of the relationship and whether Rose and Sam, who was the bad guy in that relationship. And so I'm curious what y'all think about it, because y'all actually played in the actual movie.
You want to go first?
So, one of the biggest things for me that I figured out, like when I was writing dialogue like this, like because it's like a lot of arguments, is something I realized in real life is like, you know, the older I get, like it's harder to trace how arguments go wrong. So I kind of wanted these arguments to kind of escalate from nowhere and feel a little muddy. My favorite test to do, and I do this with Kim and I do this with Max yesterday. I was go, all right, who's at fault in this scene? And then I would hear they would always go like, all right, well, you know, I think it's Sam because Sam. Well, I guess Rose kind of does. Wait, and Max literally did that. I'm reenacting what he did yesterday. Yeah, and I feel like every scene, my hope is that you can make the argument for both. And it's interesting because like when I wrote it, you know, it's from a male perspective. So I was like, okay, like I think in some of these scenes, like maybe Rose will seem like more of the, you know, the antagonizer. And then I did the scenes. And I was like, I'm such a dick in all of these. Like, I'm so mean. And then I watched him, and I was like, oh, wait, no, I think maybe it's Rose. And then I watched the final cut, and I'm like, oh, it's just both of them. And I know you were talking, like, high school relationships, like, it's kind of, you don't really know where it escalates, and you don't know where that comes from. So I think they're just two people who very clearly are not, they can't give each other what they want. Sam needs the type of girl that he can, like, you know, it's like in theory, in fantasy, they would be perfect for each other. But, you know, Sam needs someone who is going to understand him in the way he needs to be understood creatively. And Rose needs someone who is going to understand her in the way that she needs to be understood, which it seems like Sam is never really willing to beyond a scene he can write. So.
I just want to say, you talked about how it felt in the moment when you were acting it out. And obviously, I was there for every single shoot you guys had. So I want to say, as a viewer watching it, sometimes, and again, I only read the script like once, so I would forget what's happening. But then I get to experience it all again, and I personally felt like I'm torn because it's both Sam and Rose, but I think it's neither of their fault ultimately because I think they both suck so much. But in the moment, sometimes it felt a lot more like Rose was kind of bad, you know, like to me it seems like she escalated things a lot more. That's how I felt, and watching it back I kind of understand the Sam being a bit more the antagonizer, but to me Rose is the worst. Well, it's still easy, but like
Okay. It's a bit of a tricky one. I definitely think I agree with the core idea that I think Sam is the main antagonist. I think he's always the one. It's like he's going out of his way to start a problem. He kind of wants to. It's like he's making a way for there to be something wrong. I mean, he's constantly asking questions that don't need to actually be asked. But I do definitely think that Rose's responses sometimes do feel very weak. There's not a lot of that, like, she's not going out of her way to necessarily comfort Sam's concerns, which I agree, she shouldn't necessarily have to really be responsible for that. But there's definitely times where, like, you know, just put up with it. And the same for Sam, and the same for Rose. Sometimes you just gotta put up with it. And I think there was always a lack of, again, they had a dissonance throughout a lot of it. I really think that neither character was really looking at each other as a person, and rather just heavily focusing on their relationship. They both had such separate guides, separate paths going into their life. One was working on this theater, and one was gone to, I think, art school. They just were so different, and they were never willing to really appreciate each other's passion, and they kind of were just so focused on each other, and that's kind of how I see the toxicity in the relationship.
This might kind of sound stupid, but for me, like, I feel like they're all just, like, human. Like, I feel like Caffrey wrote it to be, like, there's not a dichotomy of, like, bad and good. Like, even Carrie, like, if you take out the, like, romantic aspect of her scene, like, she's kind of jumping on her friend right after he just broke up. Like, that's, like, not, like, the greatest thing to do, but she's still a good, like, perceivably good character. So I think, like, all of them, like, they're all just human. Like, there's good parts of them, there's bad parts of them. How they act, how they respond to people, it can be, it's just how they, like, they're not necessarily inherently good or bad. They're just being themselves. I don't know.
That's good. No, that's good. I will say, when I first watched it, I was on Team Rose, and then I watched it again. It's like, oh, I see where the other argument comes from. But, what about the Aiden cutaways? Could y'all tell me about that?
Max had to use the bathroom at one point during the movie, and he walks inside, and he was like, I love seeing people, they figured it out, like why the cutaways are there. So I started this in the big start of the story, before we started. I was writing it, I was like, oh yeah, I'll play the wheel, I'll do this. And someone was like, yeah, my little narcissistic of you. I was like, okay, let me see how I can work it in. Let me make fun of myself about trying to play my own part and write a character called Aiden. And Aiden Maldonado plays Aiden. There's like 3 Aidens in this movie, technically 4 with Aiden Thomas's extra work. And have that part get taken from him and see how he reacts to that. And see if he can kind of come out the other side and allow his art to be appreciated by other people, and not just through his own lens. And so I described it, Aiden Maldonado was my hardest pitch because I don't know how to describe that character. The best label I put on it was emotional stunt double. So if you notice, every time in the movie Aiden appears, it's when Sam lies. Or is acting. Props to Aiden, because that's a very hard thing to play. I don't know, like, like I described it as that to him, and then he did it perfectly. But I figured, since a lot of the movie felt like a movie that, like, Sam would want about his own life, like his coming of age story, since the lesson he has to learn is like, look, you can't be making art that is more vulnerable than you are with the people you care about. I, as the filmmaker, wanted to like prevent him. If he's lying, he's not allowed to be vulnerable until he can truly accept that. Which is why when Carrie finally makes him take accountability for real, he switches, and that's the first on-screen cut that happens between them in the movie. That's my interpretation.
Yeah, that's good. This one was directed towards Mason, but I do think anybody can answer this one because the. Perfect. The question is, how has your experience like being a graduate and like going to whatever you're gonna do after high school? How did that influence like your acting decision? Because I know your character did talk about it in the actual play. I mean, in the actual movie. I don't know if I keep saying that, but in the actual, it's because of the play and the movie and play. But I know you can pass the stick if you want, but your character did talk about how like growing up and like moving on and what comes with it. So I'm just curious, like how did that influence your acting? How much of that was true for you? How much of it like?
Okay. Well, I'd say a good big chunk of it definitely probably was true. I'm going off to college, obviously. And is it not working? Oh, there, no. Okay. Thank you. Is it worse, really? No, it's okay. Anyways, I definitely have experienced kind of the thrill of having friends surround me, amazing people, whether they're in my grade, a grade younger than me, a grade older than me. So I mean, I've started seeing for quite a long time, ever since my freshman year. You know, I make friends with these seniors, and then they go off, and then I make friends with the juniors, and then 2 years later they go off, and then now I'm the one going off. But throughout all of those times, I did realize, and this was one of the things I kept on telling to Sam, just because you're moving on doesn't mean things necessarily have to end with your friends. You can still easily keep in touch with people, and I really think that, like, you know, I all the time I'll hang out with someone from maybe a previous year of mine, even though they've had their whole college experience and I haven't started that yet. And there's definitely a lot of times where maybe in a relationship where, you know, there comes the big struggle where one person's going off to college and one's staying home, or they're going to a different college, or they're a year younger than you. And it can get really scary because there's always that trust that people don't have with that type of stuff. And that's why even like my own character in the film, you know, he had that doubt, and he doubted his own relationship, his own strong built relationship that he built, just because he'd have to go away for a little bit of distance. So I like to think distance is a real testament to a relationship. And, you know, if a relationship isn't going to work before that distance even ever occurs, you know, it's a lot to think about. So I'd like to think that the character with going on to college is quite a lot he had to think about. Anyone else? Okay.
Yeah, you did your big one on that. I want to say that goes to my questions. Thank you guys all for staying for the question segment. Thank you, Aiden, for making this work, making it come bring all together. Thank you, Kim, for taking the videos and like really adding the life to the movie. And thank you to all the actors, everybody who's in there. Yeah, y'all were great. Y'all did a wonderful job. Aiden, anything else you want to say?
Thank you guys so much. I hope you liked it. Thanks. I think we got it.